Here we are in Spa-Francorchamps, in the heart of Belgium's tourist country, the Ardennes forest, amidst its rolling hills and sleepy little villages, one of which of course is Francorchamps, which is quiet all year round but really comes alive on Grand Prix weekend. And at the heart of the village, a little model shop where you can see models of racing cars from the present day stretching back to the misty times long ago when the man on my right, John Watson, was driving. This circuit is pretty special to drivers, isn't it?
Well, this is the last true road circuit in the Formula One calendar, and we're standing right here in the corner called Eau Rouge. This corner is just unbelievable. The cars come rushing down from the La Source hairpin. It's quite a steep downhill incline, and at the bottom of the dip where the cars grind the under trays into the ground, they're doing about 170 miles an hour, and qualifying, the quick guys are going to go through their flat, and this is without doubt the most spectacular corner on any circuit anywhere in the world I've ever seen or driven on. And really, I can feel the tingle standing here right now.
Thanks very much, John. Well, also with us, Alan Tyndall, our race commentator. Alan, Thierry Boutsen, a winner in the last race. Do you think he can double up at his home Grand Prix?
Well, I don't know if I'd put money on it, but he comes in a tremendous high. You've got to remember, as you say, he's had a win. He's also had a fastest lap, and he's had a pole position all in the space of a month. So he's coming to his home Grand Prix in very good shape.
Thanks very much, Alan. More from you later, but for now, we'll go back to John Watson, who yesterday, when the track was closed, had a chance to drive around the circuit.
Well, here we are. This is the start-finish line. Let me say the Formula One start-finish line here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, because it's the other side of this piece of track that is the traditional start-finish line, but for some reason, Formula One changed the start and finish, basically in the days of the turbo cars. And instead of having that magic rush down into the Eau Rouge, we've got a traffic jam rush into this very famous second gear hairpin called La Source. Very tight, very slow corner. One of the few parts in the circuit where overtaking is a realistic option, but also the scene of very many shunts. So a place where a lot of action will take place, not least of all at the start of the race. But now we're going to come down past the grandstands and really what is the old pits at the Spa circuit, and of course the circuit now drops down fairly dramatically and the cars are picking up speed very quickly indeed. Well, this is the rush down to this infamous Eau Rouge corner. To me it's like Beecher's Brook and the Grand National course at Aintree. It's the most demanding corner I think in any Grand Prix circuit I've ever driven on, and it really is extremely taxing on the car and the driver. And remember, the Formula One cars are coming down here at almost 180 miles an hour, and certainly in qualifying there will be those that will go through here without a lift at all, and that I can assure you is just a spectacle second to none in Formula One racing. This sweep quickly over to the right, getting the car in against the curb but not touching the curb, and then the car is ejected out over this crest and over to the left. This part of the circuit now is called Radion, and it again is a really demanding and taxing part of the circuit. Your exit speed is very important here because this is now the quickest part of the circuit. It is the straight, although there's a kink just further down the road, but it's here where the cars will actually get up to the maximum speed, close to 200 miles an hour. It's third gear entry. The first part of the chicane here is a right-hand corner. It's in a third. Again, you've got to get the car in fairly tight to the curb. Then most drivers will probably, what I would call short shift. They'll take fourth gear just before here and accelerate out, but not get out to the outside of the corner. They want to get back quickly to the left, because this next little right-hand corner here is the most important of those three corners we've been through. You've got to get out of here quickly and cleanly and have the car accelerate then down this short straight. This is the section called Les Combes. So we now come down here in fourth gear, maybe just catching fifth gear briefly, then back down to third gear. In fact, some people might choose second because it's slow, it's an off-camber corner, and the tendency is the car will always want to run wide, it'll always want to understeer. That's the front wheels really being reluctant to grip. So clean and neat through that corner, getting the power on as early as you can, back across now to the right, into fourth gear, and then through this left-hand corner. Again, a falling camber. The road is always running away from you here at Spa. It's always difficult to get the car to tuck into those corners. And now we come down to yet another of these wonderfully fast corners at Spa. This one's called Le Pouhon. That's my best version of a French pronunciation. Back into fifth gear, make an early apex, and then it's flat out, and it's really let the car run out to the very exit of the corner, maybe just clip that curb, keeping the car tight in now for the second part of the corner, again flat out, and at the exit of this corner, probably something like 160, maybe 170 miles an hour, finally into top gear for this short run down to the next little SS, which is called Malmedy. Another overtaking manoeuvre. This is where we saw a number of years ago Senna and Nigel Mansell having a very pretty little waltz together as they fought for the same part of the road. It's a difficult place to pass, but it is possible, but you have to have cooperation. Again, keeping tight to the right, because it's the second part of this corner, again, that's the important part. Bring the car in now, make your apex, and you must get on the power early. It's so vital here at Spa to maximize the exit of these corners, to accelerate out as quickly as possible. Here we're coming down to what would be the first part of a famous corner, Stavlo. This is on the new part of the Spa circuit, but let's still call it Stavlo. Again, a fourth gear corner, neatness pays, the car again running out, but trying to keep the car straight in the exit, because here we have the second part of the Stavlo corner, and this is the most crucial part. Again, a double apex corner, the car again drifting out to the left-hand side of the road, trying to get the power on as hard as possible, fighting a little bit of oversteer there. Now up into fifth gear, and again this is the acceleration on the return leg back up to the start-finish line. Now come back across to the left-hand part of the track, because you want to be well over to the right as you come up to this infamous bus stop chicane. Yet another overtaking spot on the circuit. Again, another spot where you'll see a lot of action, and some people may well slide up the escape road. We're going to go left here. This is the entry to the bus stop chicane. It's a really gutty part of the circuit. Bump over the curbs. The car will oversteer on the exit. Because the cars are so stiffly sprung, they look just awful anyway. And of course, on the exit of the chicane, taking advantage of the curbing here, bouncing over one, bouncing over the other. Here we now return, coming out in third gear, hard up against that curb, fourth gear, and now we're coming up to the start-finish line, grabbing fifth as we come round this left-hand corner, and then it's the final rush again up to the famous La Source Herpen. Either it's the end of the race, the beginning of the race, or for sure a part of the circuit where there's going to be a lot of action.
Sunshine at Spa makes a pleasant change from rain, and the crowds were out early to make the most of it as the pre-qualifiers prepared to do battle. Ligier have dominated pre-qualifying for the last two races, but this time round they didn't have to bother because Team Monteverdi hadn't made it to Belgium. They run into financial problems, so they missed the race and the rest of the season. Fastest of the early bunch, Olivier Griard in the Osella. He rounded the longest circuit in Formula 1, all 4.3 miles of it, in 1 minute 57.941, half a second clear of Yannick Dalmas in the first of the AGS's. The Frenchman rewarded the fans who'd followed him across the border from the Beausset to cheer him on. There were early celebrations in the Cologny camp as Bertrand Gachot qualified for the first time this season, the team reaping the reward of a recent switch from Subaru to Ford power. Last to make the grade, Gabriele Tarquini in the other AGS, a third of a second ahead of one of the unluckiest men in the pit lane, Roberto Moreno. So as Gachot wandered off to continue working for the rest of the weekend, it was an early farewell to Moreno and Claudio Langes and the Eurobrun team, as well as Bruno Giacomelli, some 20 seconds off the pace in the line. Well, for the last couple of races, as we move into the second half of the season, there's been as much interest off the track as there has been on, as people try to work out who'll be doing what and who'll be driving for who next season. Time now for the latest driver news and all the buzz from the pit lane. Gossip is rife this season about the futures of several top drivers, not least the current world champion Alain Prost. The Frenchman has re-signed for Ferrari next year, and he isn't saying whether he'll then retire. Nigel Mansell has already announced his retirement, which Ferrari have been reluctant to accept. He has until the end of the month to confirm his plans. Uncertainty surrounds the future of Team Lotus following the loss of their massive Camel sponsorship for next year. The news is a blow for Martin Donnelly.
obviously very disappointing all round. I've had a good association with Camel over the last 3 years. They've been good for me, and hopefully likewise I've been good for them. As far as the Lotus situation is concerned, they have to now sort of work extra hard to pull in some major sponsorship so they can continue on for next year, and henceforth they've brought in Peter Collins and Peter Wright as commercial directors. Peter Collins has been spending a lot of time in Japan. He's hopefully putting something together there, and I think he will pull it through, and others will continue.
Martin, do you have an option again with Lotus next year?
I have the option actually lies with the team, so I'm free at the moment to talk to who I like and put deals together. And again, it very much depends on what the package the team have to offer for next year. But all I can say that I won't be unemployed when it comes to racing in Formula 1 next year.
One man who definitely won't be unemployed next season is Ayrton Senna, although he found himself in the middle of some drama in the morning's untimed session. He lost the McLaren at Malmedy and came to rest in a direct line with oncoming traffic. Martin Donnelly didn't improve matters when his Lotus chose to lose a wheel at the very same spot. Totally unruffled, the Brazilian picked his moment to clear the area, while a super efficient member of the Lotus pit crew arrived to rescue his marooned driver. Despite improved performances from the pretenders in recent races, the kings of Formula 1 are still McLaren. The man behind their success, team boss Ron Dennis. Andrew Marriott has been looking back over the Dennis career and began by asking him where his passion for precision came from.
Well, I would say, without doubt, it was something taught to me by my mother. She is. I mean, she's a meticulous person, and the sort of attention to detail. I mean, used to drive the whole family crazy, but some of it washed over me, and I mean, I'm very much the same. I like things right, and of course, your parents do contribute a great deal to the moulding of your character, and I think, as regards that part of my character, was quite severely influenced by my mother.
So it really came very early on, and you always set those high standards. And
I think high standards is not the right expression. I think it's just a sort of a desire for things to be right, and to just have this care about everything. I think that I have a view that everything is important, and it doesn't stop just with racing cars or how the company operates. It, unfortunately for my wife, flows all the way through to my behaviour at home and the values that I'm trying to teach my own daughter. I'm just a unbelievable pain sometimes to live with, but that's me.
Do you ever have any time for home? I mean, Grand Prix racing is a full-time business, as we all know. Are you able to step back from it and have a normal existence? Nigel Mansell's a man that seems to be able to do that.
Yes, well, I'd rather not be compared to Nigel, not because of any reasons, and I believe individuals are very different. And I mean, Nigel, being a Grand Prix driver, of course, has the ability to leave the circuit, and whilst he carries with him the thoughts and the need to train and things like that, my work, in fact, becomes more intensive when I leave a Grand Prix circuit. I mean, I now genuinely go to Grand Prix and find myself relaxing. I mean, there is a limitation to what you can do at a Grand Prix. Intercontinental races, of course, mean that you're working with very restricted amount of equipment, just about what you can carry with you. When you go to European races, you have a more elaborate backup system, and of course the logistical possibility of returning to the factory or flying parts out. So even taking that into account, when I go back to the office, my days are far more complex and more stressful then. So it's not right to compare any manager to a Grand Prix driver, because they do have considerable more free time. As regards what time I have, I try to spend it with my family. It's become quite important to me over the last 2 or 3 years.
You've been racing all your working life. Do you ever see a period life after Grand Prix?
Life after Grand Prix. I don't really give it a great deal of thought. I mean, I try to pace myself and to pace the company. We've learnt that if you grow too quickly, then you tend to leave behind management voids, which give you all sorts of problems when it comes to being efficient and running the company effectively. But again, my own views are, I think 3 or 4 years ahead, but I don't think of retirement. I don't think of doing other things. I enjoy what I do, as long as I feel that I'm doing it well enough to maintain my own values, which I hope are values that allow the company to continue to win.
Well, that's another side of Ron Dennis. We had to take a break now, but we'll be back in a couple of moments with highlights of the first qualifying session for the Belgian Grand Prix. Well, now, without any more ado, let's get on with the main business of the day, the first official qualifying session for the Belgian Grand Prix. Your commentators, John Watson and Alan Tyndall.
13 minutes into the first qualifying session, and Nigel Mansell appeared. Not surprisingly, already Senna has gone fastest.
Well, with Senna fastest, Mansell, of course, is going to try and get onto the front row of the grid, preferably on pole position. He's had such a miserable season so far with his Ferrari that really, I think Mansell must wonder if anything's going to go right for him in 1990. But here, well, he's got John Lacey. Well, the Lacey's pulled out of the way. Now Mansell on a clear run. Dear me, that was nasty. The way the car dropped off the curb, it bit very viciously. Mansell lucky not to let the car get away from him, but now dropping downhill. And look at, again, the back of the car. He gets the rear wheel over the curb. The car almost completely sideways in the track. Well, here we are back with John Lacey. I don't know quite when this was in the session, but he certainly locked it up a bit. This is Lassour Serpent losing the car. Well, he did come to a complete standstill. Looked like his new tyres were a bit too new, but here we are now back with Mansell, almost completing the lap, coming up to this, what they call flick-flack bus stop chicane. Not too bad through there, fairly clean in fact. Most of the cars are clipping the curb as they go through the chicane, and now coming up to complete the lap.
Amazingly, his time is second fastest at this stage, 1:54.59, which is quite extraordinary. We would have expected him to stop after ruining his tyres earlier on. Now, here's Senna on a flyer.
So again, this is the long uphill section of the circuit, the climb back up to the start-finish line, and through this corner, this very, very fast left-hand corner, flat out in 6th gear, coming up now to the chicane, down into 2nd gear for the first part, clean through there, that was good for Senna. Now the exit of the chicane also equally clean, riding a wheel up the curb, but that is the problem. Again, Senna crossing the line.
1:52.564, not as quick as last year, but fastest so far today. So Senna would be reasonably happy with that, but I don't think he's out of the war with that time.
Now I see Thierry Boutsen. Of course, Boutsen, the winner in Hungary 2 weeks ago, and this is his home Grand Prix. Very anxious indeed to please the crowds, please himself, and really, of course, Noel Boutsen again doing something similar to Mansell, dropping that wheel off the curb. And of course, Boutsen really wants to try and cement his position in the Williams team. Rumours abound about the team looking to replace him, a number of names, Senna and Lacey amongst them. So for Thierry Boutsen, this year's Belgian Grand Prix really is an important event.
There's Thierry Boutsen, and he's really almost overdriving this car at the moment. It'll prove not to be a very happy day for Terry. We're watching him on his first run here at the moment, down at the back end of the circuit, and with that one mistake already, and right out over the curves that time. That was a close one, John.
Yes, again, he's letting the car run too wide. He is, as you said, overdriving the car a little bit. I can understand why, because he's having to get past one of the AGSs. So it's a frustrating lap. Boutsen trying absolutely on the limit, but really almost trying too hard.
And now we're just about to see him coming up, completing that lap, but not a very good day for him. He's only 6th fastest at the end of the day. In this shot, we see him on his second run, but he rides right over the chicane. And again, another nasty moment for the Belgium in his front of his home crowd.
Well, in fact, he didn't ride over the chicane. He took a shortcut. He had almost 4 wheels on the grass on the inside of the curbing of that chicane. Thierry obviously trying extremely hard indeed, probably trying too hard.
Talking about Belgium, this is a very sad sight. Gasho having to sit out the first qualifying session, having pre-qualified for the first time this year.
Yes, I mean, poor Bertrand, nothing seems to go right for him at all. He got through pre-qualifying for the first time this year. He didn't run in the morning session, the on-time session, and he's not getting out in the time session. What a shame.
This is another young up-and-coming driver, Martin Donnelly, who's again a bit in the wars here in Belgium today. He's had all kinds of problems in the morning session when a wheel came off the car, but here he must now get a good time.
Well, this has been a very frustrating day for Martin Donnelly, and of course at Spa you get very few opportunities to get a quick lap in.
Martin Donnelly then, amazingly, in the entire day's running, that includes the hour and a half this morning and this hour of qualifying, will only get 8 laps, and he ends up in 19th position. Piquet in the pits. He is going to be the quickest of the Benettons this afternoon. You can see the heat here at Spa.
Well, these qualifying tyres have only got one real running lap in them. What Benetton are trying to do is recover them, and you can see the chalk marks on the tyre. That indicates hot spots on the tyre, so they're pouring water over it to try and dissipate the temperature in the hope that he can get a third run, probably in a mix of the first and second set of tyres.
Gerhard Berger out of the track, and his opportunity to start this flyer and try and match the time at the moment held by Ayrton Senna, who leads this session at the moment. So Gerhard Berger heading down for the frightening Eau Rouge ahead.
And this is, I tell you, that's a real corner, and doesn't look it, but he's doing 170 miles an hour in the dip, and the car just gets compressed into the ground. He's got to get past Capelli's Leighton House, and of course that probably cost him maybe 3 or 4 tenths. Doesn't sound an awful lot. On a long lap like that, particularly on this long straight, he'll have lost that momentum. He needed to carry him up the straight to get the maximum speed. But he's got Martin Donnelly ahead of him, just getting past de Cesaris in his Dallara. This is one of the problems of any racetrack traffic, and particularly in these qualifying sessions. Just one car can cause you to lose that vital lap. Donnelly now pulling well over to the right. Berger getting through cleanly. And now it's the charge down the hill. We've got a fairly long straight before this fantastic 5th gear left-hand corner. The track falls away from you all the time. You feel like the car wants to run off the track. At this point then the camera changes and the car starts to really bite. And it's about 160 miles an hour there. Oops, double under braking. Keeping the car tight. The first part of that right left-hand corner should be taken tight and neatly. Riding over the curb coming out, but not really losing time. A little bit of understeer there in that right-hand part of the Stavro corner. Now it's the charge back up the hill, and now Berger flat out 5th gear, getting into 6th gear as he comes around this right-hand curve.
It's a beautiful lap so far, apart from that little wobble. Really very little time lost indeed. This is the really brave left-hander. He's not quite out on the curbs now. He's just got the bus stop chicane to deal with, and it looks good. That's lost a bit of time there, John.
Well, yes, he got the car well. I mean, the car was flying. He got the car well sideways over that. Again, those vital tenths.
But it's 1:51.21. It's the fastest lap so far, and that could well put Gerhard Berger on pole.
Well, there's a man who looks like his day's work's finished. Ayrton Senna taking his helmet off in the garage. He's currently second quickest. His teammate Berger fastest. So Ayrton Senna not a happy man.
Well, now here's the last hope of getting that McLaren off the pole position. It's Prost out in the Ferrari and really going for a good time. Obviously trying extremely hard up in the Les Combes section and dipping now downhill. So Alain Prost with Mansell having to contend back in about 4th place at the moment. Prost going for it.
Yes, and this Spa circuit really is a technical circuit. That's the kind of circuit I think Alain Prost really thrives on. It is a long circuit, but it really requires a great deal of precision. And it's the entry to all these corners that really is vital, because if you get in slightly too quick, slightly too wide, it'll affect the performance through the corner. But Prost really is so thoughtful about how he approaches and really placing the car most accurately indeed, and not using the curbs quite so much as we've seen some of his competitors doing, but nonetheless he is so quick.
And Prost really clean and really quick, as you say, John. And now the time that he's going to try and obviously beat is Berger's. He's only got about 3 corners to do. It'll be interesting to see how he copes with the bus stop. He's going to come up to it shortly, but first he's got that frightening left-hander. Gets very cleanly through that. The car down on the rubbing strips there, and very neat indeed into the chicane, and this should be a beauty.
Yes, Prost got through there, as you'd expect, with precision, clean, and it looks to be a reasonably good lap to me.
1:51.841, second fastest, but not pole position. That goes to Gerhard Berger. On the second row, it's Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell. Then on the third row, we've Piquet Boutsen. fourth row, it's Alessi Petresi, then Gujamin, Capelli, Suzuki, Nakajima, Nannini, Martini, Bernard, Pirro, Warwick, Caffey, Donnelly, De Cesaris, Ladena, Barilla, and then Alboreto, Larini, Alio, and Griard. Remember, those are only the provisional grid positions. The people who didn't make it today, David Brabham, Tarquini, Dalmas, and Gasho, who didn't even get a lap.
Well, that completes day one of Eurosport's coverage of the Belgian Grand Prix. In day two, we'll find out who's on pole position for the race itself when we cover the final qualifying session. You can see it live during the afternoon on Eurosport. If not, the highlights will be on our special programme, which starts at 10:30 Central European Time, 9:30 in the UK. Join us then.